Today, in a development resonating across global diplomatic corridors, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy met with former U.S. President Donald J. Trump at the White House. The meeting, streamed live and now widely discussed online, broke from the often more scripted protocol of state visits, offering a candid, perhaps unprecedented exchange between two world leaders. Zelenskyy arrived in Washington carrying the weight of his nation's ongoing struggle and the world's hopes for a peaceful resolution to the conflict with Russia. His visit underscores Ukraine's intensified drive to broaden international support, not just among traditional allies but across the ideological spectrum. From the moment the two leaders greeted each other under the Oval Office's signature chandeliers, the session felt ripe with symbolism. Zelenskyy's posture conveyed both diplomatic poise and urgency. Trump, for his part, appeared keenly aware of that gravity. Their body language, warm handshakes, measured smiles, and a moment that felt like an unspoken agreement to listen, speaks volumes. Zelenskyy, leaning forward at times, calmly yet firmly reiterated Ukraine's resolve to reclaim sovereignty and its readiness to negotiate. Trump responded with gestures suggesting openness to new mediation paths, perhaps signaling a shift from traditional Western channels towards more unorthodox diplomacy. Brief briefings from the video show Zelenskyy suggesting a trilateral meeting involving himself, Trump, and Vladimir Putin as a possible way forward, an idea that immediately stirred global curiosity and skepticism alike. That proposition, floating in an East room filled with historic weight, suggested strategic chess moves that could reshape the future conversation on peace. Zelenskyy's words, captured in the video, hinted that a fresh diplomatic opening might be within reach if old opponents could come face to face, not just as adversaries but as negotiators. For his part, Trump appeared to welcome the thought. His reactions, leaning slightly forward, nodding, and offering brief but affirming comments, were suggestive, yet non-committal. The former president allowed that new diplomatic overtures could be interesting, a phrase carrying potential weight in today's fraught global context. Viewers immediately recognized the magnitude. This was no ceremonial visit. It was a calculated moment, where both figures seemed willing to open new conversational doors. For Zelenskyy, the meeting could lend fresh legitimacy to Ukraine's search for peace, not solely as a matter of defense, but as an engaged, proactive actor seeking dialogue. For Trump, it offered a possible re-entry into geopolitical relevance, particularly vis-a-vis the Ukraine-Russia conflict that continues to dominate headlines. Strategists observing the talk note that offering to engage Putin directly, however speculative, could reshape Ukraine's posture on the world stage. It reframes the conflict not just as one of military defense, but of diplomatic initiative. At the same time, skeptics raised alarm. Such a move could be interpreted as bypassing allied diplomatic frameworks, undermining NATO-EU solidarity, or legitimizing Putin's contentious stance. Analysts also flagged how Trump occupying this mediating role might disrupt current U.S. policy consensus. Today's bipartisan American approach, enshrined in ongoing material and political support for Ukraine, could come under pressure if new diplomatic paths sideline congressional consensus or international alignments. The video's tone suggests a moment of mutual respect, and perhaps, tactical possibility. Zelenskyy appeared clear-eyed, speaking of hopes for peace but anchored in pragmatism. Trump's responses were less transparent, leaning toward possibility, rather than commitment, yet that ambiguity may be deliberate, offering enough openness to keep channels alive without yet stepping on political landmines at home or abroad. In the broader media reaction, commentators noted the meeting signaled Zelenskyy's willingness to explore every possible avenue to stop the war. Meanwhile, Trump's willingness to entertain such talks, even hypothetically, could be seen as part of a strategy to remain a key figure in global dialogue. For supporters of Ukraine, the event was a moment of showmanship, but perhaps also of strategic depth. For critics, it raised alarms about sidelining existing diplomatic mechanisms in favor of unpredictable high-stakes engagement. The Washington insiders tracking the meeting suggest this could lead to further quiet diplomacy. While no formal trilateral summit has been confirmed, the conversation is now on the table, fuel for policymakers, advisors, and international observers alike. Some expect follow-up discussions, perhaps via intermediaries, to test the feasibility of the idea without public commitment. Beyond global politics, the optics themselves are powerful. A Ukrainian leader meeting not just a current U.S. president, but a former one known for transactional diplomacy, suggests a willingness to cast the net wide in seeking peace. In countries across Europe and Asia, the realization that Ukraine is exploring all avenues may influence support, financial, moral, or military. We might consider how this meeting, symbolic as it was, plays into the narratives of each participant. Zelenskyy reasserts himself as an active negotiator, not just a wartime figure. Trump repositioned himself, once again, as a player on the world stage, one who can attract high-profile meetings and influence global discourse even outside formal office. Many speeches and statements follow these moments. Zelenskyy's next public comments may include reaffirmation of unity with Ukraine's allies, even as he explores new diplomacy. Trump's advisors may clarify whether this was a singular gesture or the opening of sustained engagement. Public response, especially online, has been equally immediate. Clips of the handshake and brief talks have gone viral. Social media feeds carry a mix of hope, skepticism, and partisan spin. Pro-Ukraine supporters hail the courage to think outside conventional diplomacy. Isolationists in various countries see confirmation that direct talks may bypass squabbling allies. Critics warn of dangerous detours. Regardless of how it unfolds, this meeting likely marks a significant inflection point. It demonstrates how, even in entrenched conflicts, the slightest shifts in tone and posture can open unexpected paths to discussion. That Zelenskyy, an unwavering advocate for national resilience, would contemplate dialogue across traditional divides suggests the intensity of Ukraine's desperation and determination to end the war through any possible channel. Meanwhile, Trump, whose previous diplomacy with autocratic leaders has drawn both praise and condemnation, now returns to that pattern, offering a conditional olive branch. The question now is not whether the conversation happened. It did, but whether the ideas discussed will move beyond symbolic gestures to tangible diplomacy. In the coming days, any formal response from the Kremlin will be closely watched. Putin's reaction, whether silence, acceptance, or condemnation, could define the viability of even hypothetical dialogue paths. Meanwhile, Washington's Congress and allies in NATO and Europe will weigh the implications. Does this open a necessary new track, or threaten to unravel a carefully constructed front of unity? Education systems, think tanks, and universities in Washington and Kyiv may see this as a case study. In modern diplomacy, how unconventional leaders meet in unconventional ways to seek peace. Scholars might dissect the video, body language, tone, choice of words, timing. Students will ask, is diplomacy evolving from institutions to individuals? Are state leaders now singly capable of proposing international peace initiatives in real time, bypassing bureaucratic inertia? As an unfolding story, today's encounter stands as much for symbolism as substance. Its value may lie less in immediate outcomes than in remembered memory. A Ukrainian president reaching across political divides, a former US president engaging anew, a moment when, in a White House room, the impossible seemed worth talking about. If Ukraine's ultimate path to peace includes this unconventional bridge, newspapers and histories will note the day Zelenskyy and Trump met. Whether it becomes seen as a turning point, or a curious footnote, will depend on the responses that ripple from this room outward. For now, with the video as a fixed record, world attention turns to what comes next: statements, follow-ups, clarifications, and perhaps, if momentum builds, an audacious diplomatic chain that may, in time, either succeed or falter. But on this day, at this meeting, history was invited to reconsider whether peace could emerge not only from battlefields or institutional negotiation tables, but from the unpredictable dialogue between two leaders, framed by cameras and circled by global eyes.